Welcome to the Tom Hill Live Show on Brass City Community TV. Tonight's guest is Jim Beeland from Feed the Need. Now, it's time for Tom.
This is the longest time for Tom. Oh, there I are. Hi, everybody. Happy to be here. Thank you, John Frasco, our great announcer, and Jim Beeland. We know him from the Waterbury Regional Chamber and the old WATR, and we'll tear into that as we go. But as usual, Al Tu, one of our great volunteers here, and sort of our boss, I guess. We want to continue with our talks on safety. The last few weeks we've been talking about public safety, shoveling sidewalks, not running people over, walking in the streets, people wearing dark clothing, which I saw again this week. Boy, oh boy, I don't want to run anybody over. I want no one on my hood if I have the chance. John Frasco, we'll start with you because you had a bone to pick.
Well, flu prevention. Flu is going wild. I think a lot of people can prevent the flu if they got vaccinated. Some other little things you could do to make your life a little bit better is wash your hands frequently, use hand sanitizer. Just use disinfectant on things that are frequently touched, like doorknobs, keyboards, tables, etc., etc.
I'm like Donald Trump. They call me Donald Trump because I do the fist bump, but I really do the fist bump because these men give you these masculine handshakes, and then I can't use my calculator all week. So
yeah, your fingers get all tied up.
Touching people is, you're right, John.
Yeah. And they say if you do touch, try not to touch your face, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, because that's how you get the virus. Mm-hmm. And also sleep. Good nutrition, chicken soup, and I'd say eat as much onions because that boosts your immunity.
Great for your breath.
That too. Keeps the people that you don't want to talk to away from you.
They're like this. Go away. Let's see. I think it's something else I wanted to ask you about. All right. Well, I can't remember that now. So, Jim Beeland, what are your safety tips?
I would say in this winter weather, snow removal. What's in front of your sidewalks, if you happen to have any sidewalks, or the fire hydrants, got to clear those. And then if you're going down the road and someone's in front of you and their car is still filled with snow, that's always a pet peeve. That becomes a travel hazard in a hurry.
That's a $250 fine, and I'm still seeing trucks and cars left and right. So they're either not reading the paper or listening to any news on the news channel. You're smiling, John. You got snow on your car?
You just make me laugh, Tom. I don't know why.
All right.
I'm silly tonight.
And people are asking why I wear the hat. The lights in this studio here at BCTV Channel 13 are so bright they're blinding me. And because I was a past patient for a couple of years, and I still go there from time to time, Lever Center up on Chase Parkway, bright lights get me. So that's why I have the hat on. So I'm sorry. It says SIOR, Society of Industrial and Office Realtors. And John is in the finance business. You could say for a minute about your real life other than BCTV.
Yeah, Fidelity Finance Solutions. We do commercial lending for all facets of loans that a business would need.
And now, Jim Beeland, we'd like the backstory on how did it come about with Feed the Need, and we've seen you all over the Hearst News, Waterbury Republican American. You're a good guy at getting free PR.
We, you know what? It was the volunteers. I just pointed them in the right direction, but Feed the Need Northeast, and we always tend to drop off the Northeast part, just kind of a nod to where we are and where we live.
Sense.
Yeah. So I think, in a nutshell, I've spent many years prior to even some of the past experiences that we talked about, where we spent a lot of years helping communities grow, but never had a chance to grow in our own community per se. So Feed the Need was an opportunity. I've always been passionate about food insecurity, food scarcity and what that entails. And lo and behold, little by little, everything started to line up to realize that the word needs to get out there. And not necessarily from Feed the Need Northeast, but all of the other great agencies that do some good stuff, and that's how we got started.
And your specialty is something that I eat every morning, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Yeah. So it's a pretty polarizing world, and I have yet to really get into an argument with anyone regarding peanut butter and jelly. We've gone to church groups, we've gone to youth groups, we've gone to different organizations, and everybody's focused on one thing: having a good time, making a difference. And I don't hear any political talk, or I don't hear any yays or nays about certain things. And we know that those in the at-risk population and those in need, this is something that is sustainable, something that will last for a little bit. We don't have to worry about things going bad in warm weather, and it kind of is taken on a life of its own.
Speaking of sustainability, what is the life of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Well, you got to be careful of the bread more than anything else. That was one of the side programs that we've done, that we've talked about. It is something called a Feed the Need to Go bag. And here I'll shameless plug. And this is a bag that we use every day, right? You're talking about someone that is at the end of an exit ramp or going in to a store, and you have 7 or 10 seconds to make a difference. And so we developed these emergency bags with water and emergency numbers and some food and some other things of that nature. But we couldn't get the peanut butter and jelly in there because it has a shelf life of about 3 days, 4 days. So we worked around that. But usually every time we do an event, whether it's 500 or whether it's 2,500 peanut butter and jellies, we know they're gone within 48 hours.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, John was our announcer producer over here, Mr. John Frasco, Money Man. I know he knows you and brought you in, so let's let him. Maybe he could finance 10,000 bags for you.
I'll tell you what, and what you don't realize is John went to one of our very first events. He is a secret master peanut butter and jelly maker. He didn't mess around.
Really?
He owned it. He owned it. It was a great
Well,
time.
these people that can work with pens and calculators are very precise.
Absolutely.
Jim he revealed some of my hidden talents now. You just want to tell everybody about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hidden talents, I love it.
Why don't we ask, I got a question for you, Jim.
Yeah.
How did you start this off? How did the idea, how did it get moving? Who did you get involved, and how did you start?
So after many years working for an organization, and like I said, all right, you want to make a difference. I want to change the world, right? So in 2023, I set out on my own without quite the fully baked plan. In fact, it wasn't even a semi-baked plan, but that was all right. But one of the consistents that we had throughout the whole thing was church groups that we would go to, or a couple of men's groups that I was involved with, and we realized that when we're together making 300 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for 90 minutes, that was probably the best time of my month. It was a sense of unity, a sense of purpose. And I said, well, how can we make that 90 minutes more meaningful? And it kind of blossomed from there to now, where we look to really partner and promote the other agencies out in the community.
And I noticed that it's gaining in popularity. More and more organizations are getting involved. I've seen a lot of police officers. I think the Bristol Police, the Waterbury Police. How did that come about?
Yeah, so in Waterbury specifically, I want to give a shout out to Captain Stokes, who's been phenomenal at helping get this ball rolling. We were doing a community event, and they asked us, before really Feed the Need Northeast was really officially off and running, if you could help out with what was one of their safety events at night. Starts at 9 o'clock at night, runs to about 1 o'clock in the morning. You have the health department officials there. You have folks from St. Mary's Hospital, drug rehab counselors, and they asked us to provide the food. So we struck up a partnership and a friendship from there, and they've been wildly helpful.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Another question for you, and then I'm going to give it back to Tom because I don't want to steal too much of his thunder.
Yeah.
Approximately at each event, how many sandwiches are you actually making? I know how many you made on New Year's Day, Eve. How many do you make on the others?
So we do 3 different kinds of events, right? So we'll do a what we call a kind of a corporate event. We do a community jam event, and then we do an open jam event. So the one that you went to back in August, I do believe, that was just a community event. Those are 500 PB&J sandwiches. So if someone's looking at that and saying, "Oh my gosh," they went through it in about 35 minutes. On New Year's Eve, when I saw the amount of volunteers that were coming in, what was supposed to be 2,026 sandwiches turned out to 2,700 sandwiches, and they were made in under 25 minutes.
And where'd they go?
So we called up about 10 different organizations, ranging from Greater Waterbury Interfaith Ministries to St. Vincent de Paul and a myriad of other organizations. And I had 10 lined up. And the crazy part, Tom, is out of those 10, only 8 were able to show up because we were under a cold weather protocol. They couldn't get anyone out there. So 2 other agencies raised their hand and said, "Hey, we need some help." So candidly, we could have made 4,000 sandwiches and they would have gone in a heartbeat. Just amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how do people get a hold of you? Because it's obvious you need people to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but do you have any other kind of jobs administratively that you could use a professional besides slush and peanut butter and jelly?
Well, I mean, like any nonprofit organization, everybody wears many different hats, right? So I know my kryptonite is graphic work, which is non-existent. Anything that I do graphically well will be the first time. But I mean, we have community events that we do. The volunteers have just been fantastic. We just did an event at Open Wolcott for the Exchange Club, and I think it's what happens during the event, and not to get too sidetracked, but at that event there was a 6-year-old child, a Tiger Scout, little guy, and he was busy making his PB&Js, and his mom texted me after the event and said he was very quiet going home, and he told his mom he had a good time, but he didn't think that anyone should be hungry. So the very next day, he went down to the principal's office and said, we need to raise PB&J for this organization. 3 days later, next thing you know, all of the elementary schools in Wolcott and the local IGA and town hall had bins set up. And it's that type of viral, we made stuff that night, that's great. The real success is the conversation that folks have the day after and the day after. And that's where we're really seeing growth.
If you'd like to call in and speak to any one of us, especially of our guest, Jim Beland, 203-753-7593, 203-753-7593. And we had Mayor Chatfield call in last week, so we'd like to take a bunch of calls. And Al1 and Al2 are in the control room, so they'll answer your phone and make sure you're not a fake caller. 203-753-7593. Okay, once again, I say, when you made the sandwiches last time at the Exchange Club, you must have delivered them somewhere, because I know the members didn't eat them.
No, but quality control and testing is very important. So if you feel the need to have one, just to make sure, we'll never say no. But in that case, for example, we made sure that we called up an agency beforehand, because part of the joy of doing one of these events is we bring them along. So in that particular case, 5 miles from here is the Exchange Club. They have their event. We brought in folks from the Agape House, which is just down the road in Bristol. They took all 400 sandwiches, and they're gone the next day.
And Agape House is what?
So Agape House is a center very similar in nature to here in Waterbury, what St. Vincent de Paul would be.
Mission.
Mission oriented. There's a couple there. So we live in Wolcott, so it's a 10-minute drive one way or a 10-minute drive the other way. And we knew that the Wolcott Congregational Church happened to do a similar event, smaller event, and that was going to Barbara Dublin's gang over at Gwyn. So we knew they were covered for the day, called up Matt Norton and his gang over at Agape, and they were there and able to spread the word in the process.
Love it. Bristol, Waterbury, let's see. Wolcott is Greater Waterbury, but it's also Greater Bristol. So you have a dual identity in that town.
A little bit. Depends if you're on top of the hill or if you're on the bottom of the hill. It's kind of funny.
Okay, so I have another one.
Yeah.
On these 2,000 sandwiches,
Yeah.
how many had one bite taken out of them?
Well, I hope none.
I think the imagination, hey, these sandwiches have a
The
bite.
ones Tom Hill made.
Yeah, exactly.
I heard that.
It's funny. Here are the controversy points, and this is one of the things that I think is great. The controversial points are whether to use ends or not ends.
Oh,
Good question.
Yeah.
Right. If it's a church group and you don't use ends, you're being wasteful, and I'll hear about it.
Yeah, Jesus said, do not leave anything behind. Wrap up all the scraps.
And turn the end inside out.
Ooh, tricky.
Oh, they don't mess around.
Yeah, thinking.
And it's good to go. I think one of the glorious unintended parts of all of this is my wife and I were buying hundreds of pounds of peanut butter and jelly and going through because we know we had so many volunteers show up for New Year's Eve that we had to buy an extra 70 loaves of bread just to keep them busy. So going to the local Aldi here in Waterbury and clearing out their shelves, the looks on people's faces of boy, you must be doing something. Not quite sure what, but you must be doing something.
Okay, so
It's pretty
folks,
cool.
he needs a bread sponsor. He needs a peanut butter sponsor.
Yeah.
And if my friend from Tri-Town, a jelly sponsor, thank you, John.
There you go.
And if
Help
my
out where I
friends
can.
from Tri-Town Trucks in Oakville, they need a truck.
Sometimes, well, bless my little Subaru's heart, but it was a very tired Subaru by the end of the day. That is very true.
Well, station wagon could be good.
Very true.
All right, up
Very
to
true.
you, John. You're next.
Yeah, I noticed when you're talking about these numbers, about these sandwiches, it seems like these sandwiches are being consumed very quickly. I mean, you said you got, 500 and they go within a half hour or maybe even a little bit longer.
Sure.
What's the demand out there in the world for, the food? Where's this food
Well,
insecurity? Could you quantify it?
Yeah, I mean, the issues are very real. You probably saw in all of the social media over the weekend that an urgent call was put out at the Salvation Army. They were, for all intents and purposes, out of food, and not in a traditional sense, but they had so many folks that were just for cold weather protocol that needed a place to stay. So in our case, we just called some volunteers. We were able to provide 300 PB&Js to the folks off of Central Ave, and I know that was a drop in the bucket. You know that on any occasion we had an individual.
No, it's 300 sandwiches in the bucket.
That's true. That's very
Really?
true. Yeah.
That's a nice donation. I don't mean to be funny or you laugh at
Yeah.
it, but no, it's not a drop in the bucket.
No.
It's when you're hungry.
Oh,
It's really handy, and you jumped on it.
It was, we got noticed Friday afternoon, the gang over at Brian Gibbons Homeless Outreach, who I'm near and dear to my heart, absolutely love those guys, sent a note and said, if you have anything, let me know. And by the next morning, and it was snowing Friday night, so we were busy dropping supplies off at home. And literally what we were doing was dropping a bag of that, and 3 loaves of bread and say,
Wow.
see you in the morning. And we picked it up along the way, and 300 sandwiches later, it was gone there. It doesn't take much, knowing that that's probably the only, I don't want to say the only meal they'll have during the day, but at least the consistent meal that they'll have during the day.
Everybody could use a PB&J now and then. I don't care who you are.
Yeah. So
that's my breakfast.
yeah, no,
One of them, part
yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, you mentioned earlier food insecurity, another term like that, and I've been talking to some people in economic development who say, and we've known this in the real estate business, that Waterbury is a food desert in certain neighborhoods. There's been an improvement. We have a big, giant grocery store in the Colonial Plaza that has survived. A new grocery store opened up on Cook Street, but there's nothing downtown, and downtown's becoming a live, work, and play, but no grocery store right within there. So I think you are also must be thinking about these food deserts, and is that another reason that you've gotten into this situation?
Yeah, it's one of those unintended things. What you don't know until you realize you're knee deep into it.
I like that.
One of the organizations just off of Chase Avenue is called City Mission, and they've collected food well over 100,000, about 136,000 pounds of food last year, just for residents in the city of Waterbury. So when I called their executive director, James, and said, hey, we're doing this event, I know PB&J sandwiches aren't necessarily your thing. And he said, well, no, actually, because of the holiday, we hand out bags of food, which they deliver because it is kind of a food desert in many areas. So they took 300 plus sandwiches. So you don't realize the pockets of insecurity, even for those folks who are getting something fairly consistently.
Well, I would love to see some of these big grocery chains chip in and maybe put a 6,000 or 7,000 foot grocery store in downtown Waterbury as something as a give back.
Yeah.
John.
I was talking to Jerry Havlikin, and he does a charity thing on his free time. He volunteers. He goes and takes food from a grocery store when they have excess,
Yep.
and he brings it to some church.
Okay.
And he's saying that there's a lot of these grocery stores or other organizations that have excess food that they do try to distribute into these needy areas.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what they do is they seems to lack a little coordination because it doesn't seem like everybody's involved. And when you get a volunteer, I mean, there's no saying they could do it week to week. So, I mean, did you ever think of like maybe tying in with one of these grocery stores or other organizations where we could get a synergistic effect by doing what you do and incorporating what they do as well?
A little bit, yeah. It's actually a really good question, John, because using City Mission as an example, I know they do a lot of work with the Stop and Shops in Waterbury. The Stop and Shops in Waterbury, generally speaking, will say we'll be glad to help you out any way possible as long as it stays in Waterbury. And that's a local decision, and it's a wonderful decision. But I think every neighborhood and every city and every community is unique. I know a lot of times one of the other groups that we work with will get a call from Costco, but they won't know until that morning. what you're dealing with.
If it weren't for the last minute, nothing would get done.
Yeah, you know. So, but fortunately, the Jerrys of the world are always saying, "What can I do? You know, how can I pick it up?" And I'm sure his truck is filled 90% of the time with
I'm sure
stuff
it is,
going
yeah.
somewhere.
Knowing
And
Jerry,
John,
that's
how
true.
do you know Jerry and Kathy?
From the chamber.
And they show up at your breakfast meeting. Talk a little bit about for the Waterbury Regional Chamber.
Yeah.
Please join. They have a a membership drive going on right now. I'm a longtime member.
Yeah.
Talk about your morning networking thing. Give us a little description of that, because that's where I've seen Jerry and Kathy, and that's how I met John.
Sure. So, Wake Up Your Business is what Tom is referring to, and it's a network gathering opportunity every Friday morning, and we call it our roving tour, right? So every week we're in a different spot. Tomorrow we happen to be at the Mattituck Museum, and then we're off to Southbury for the third Friday of the month, and then over to Jesse Camille's in Naugatuck for the fourth Friday of the month, and then back to Steel Beach Gym in Watertown. And it's interesting, the 25 or 30 business owners that probably show up on any given Friday morning. Some of them are consistent, like Jerry and Kathy, and some of them will come in and out of the community. But it becomes your ad hoc sales team, your ad hoc
Referral team.
team.
In fact,
Oh, he's going to the bag again,
well, I'm
everybody.
going to the bag again. I wasn't trying this, but you'll see these stickers. This is Jerry and Kathy's handiwork.
I love it.
Oh, and I shouldn't say the stickers, their handiwork. I know you mentioned Joe Murphy previously. This is Joe's design.
Love
Both of those individuals were contacts that I met from the chamber, and they've been invaluable.
So let's throw those two a bone. Each one of you say what those two members, what they do with their businesses, just for a little lesson here of businesses that give back.
Joe Murphy does websites and social media. He was on the show a couple of weeks back.
Yeah.
So
He was on 3 weeks ago, and you can find him on TomHillRadio.com, or you can go to the Brass City TV YouTube channel, and you just futz around just a little bit, and you'll find that show.
That's right.
John was the host that night, and talk about Kathy and Jerry.
Sure,
Kathy and Jerry, yeah, they're two of my favorite people, and a master PB&J maker. They've come to a couple of our events now. They were at the New Year's Eve event. They were also at our Bristol event when we first started there with personalized happening. So if you want something personalized, whether it's a special frame or a cute tchotchke or
Sublimation.
just anything that you want to have that will have lasting meaning, Jerry's kind of a master of putting all of that stuff together, and Kathy does the design stuff. And better than that, they're just really good people.
Can anybody out there spell tchotchke, and is it one word or two?
Yes.
Okay, if you want to call us, liven our program up, 203-753-7593. Once again, Brass City TV, the caller line, 203-753-7593. You guys remind me, do you have your future guest list over there, Mr. Frasco?
Yes, I do. You want to hear who they are?
Be the announcer, yes.
All right. Next week, we're going to have a comedian, Dave Sheehan.
Okay.
On the 26th, we're going to have Bill Becker, the cyber sleuth. Now, he may be interesting, especially what's going on with the kidnapping there. He may be able to give us some insight of what they're looking for to find these people.
I hope that poor lady is rescued safely before that.
I hope so.
Man.
On March 5th, we have Laura B. Brown from Laura B. Travel. She does reels for businesses. She's going to be very interesting and
And a
very
reel is a
informative.
video?
Yeah. it's
She's a
video.
funny lady, and she can talk.
Yeah, she does quite well for herself. She's going to be interesting, I guarantee it. And on March 12th, we have Ewa from Ann's Place. They talk about cancer counseling and services that they provide for people that have cancer, not necessarily the one that has it, but the family as well.
And one of the taller guys in the marketplace.
Yes,
he
you'll
is-
definitely see him in a crowd.
He is a gentle giant. He's one of my favorite people.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Thank you.
And on March 19th, we've got Beth Lang from Booked and Balanced. She's going to be a very interesting person. I hope we could talk about exotic cars because she has a lot of good stories about
I
it.
want to talk about booked and cooked. You heard businesses, they cook their books? That's not true. It's just a joke. Give us a call, 203-753-7593, 203-753-7593. Okay, we talked about food deserts. What about some of the facts and figures surrounding food insecurity? I know they're staggering, but many of us don't know a thing about that.
Yeah, it's staggering is a pretty good term. I mean, the national rates of food insecurity is generally speaking 1 in 6 or 1 in 7, individuals deal with food insecurity. And food insecurity is basically meaning you don't know where your next meal is coming from. The cupboards are bare and you're not quite sure where that next meal might or might not come. And that number stuck with me for a couple of reasons, Tom. Using 1 in 7, and if you have a son or a daughter that goes to school and their average class size is 21 or 24 kids, 3 or 4 of those classmates have no idea where dinner's coming from at night.
Oh, God.
And those are national numbers. Now you go into the urban areas; those numbers are doubled. The poverty rates are just significantly higher. I know in Waterbury, over 90% of all kids need some type of subsidy to make sure that they get their breakfasts. So the numbers are alarming. I am by no means an expert in to pass along that, other to know that as a local citizen and as a dad, that keeps you up at night.
Okay, John, do you remember, speaking of this subject, what was Willie Davis's big shtick in helping kids that were hungry last week?
He also feeds them when he's bringing them in for the lessons and everything.
3D Music
Yes.
Center, and that's right. I think he said, or do you remember exactly, or should I take this?
Go ahead, take it.
They give them their music lesson from, I think they're open 2 days a week, 4 to 6. The lesson is about 45 minutes to an hour, and then they feed them, and they send these kids home not hungry. So this is a perfect timing another week to have you, Jim Beland. And for those that tuned in late, just remind us of what your charity is, your nonprofit,
Yep.
and what you do.
Yeah, well, it's called Feed the Need Northeast. You'll find us on Facebook. Make sure you like and follow us, and it's feedtheneedne.org. I'm going to give you a little more of an understanding about what we do, some of our upcoming events, how you can help out. We like to say our volunteers are part of the JAM crew. We use the word JAM as much as possible. And if you don't mind me adding, Willie is one of those individuals.
That's Willie Davis from
Yep.
3D Music.
So if you could imagine, we finished an open jam event in October 15th, thereabouts, so maybe off by a day or so. About 12, 13 people showed up, which was fine. Joe Murphy had the idea in passing saying, we got to do something big. This is October 15th. Within 8 weeks is when we had our New Year's Eve event that brought coverage of TV and radio and in national news. Willie was one of those phone calls that I made and said, and I couldn't even finish the sentence in saying, I'd like some music. And next thing you know, he's bringing his kids, he's bringing some of the teachers, and it was really an inspiring conversation, and just seeing the community come together just for a common cause.
I love it. I've seen, I'm not sure you made this event, but the Waterbury Regional Chamber had their Southbury division, the Southbury Chamber,
Yep.
a big meeting last year, and Willie brought 3 of the teachers that were veterans.
I was there, yes.
Okay, well, what was your thought about that band in your review?
It was stunning.
Exactly.
Stunning. I mean, candidly, I didn't know the backstory of where they, what formal academy were they coming from, what college or whatever they were coming from. They were absolutely fantastic.
And they weren't spring chicken, these guys.
No.
They were veterans.
No.
And they started going, and I said, I'm not talking to anybody anymore. I'm watching these guys.
absolutely.
I mean, they were smoking.
Yep.
Smoking. My suggestion would be, if you want to have another jam,
Yep.
maybe you can get Sweet Eddie from Cross-Eyed Cat, and he now is a
Great
baker
job.
at Sweet Maria's, and maybe you could bring his trio out, blues trio.
Okay.
And maybe they would get involved with some kind of charity, and maybe Maria would bring a few plates of cookies as well.
So one of the challenges I'll put out to folks, and I say this tongue in cheek, but I'm serious.
He needs
as
a
well,
hall.
Is I need one of those. We always need one of those. And that's another one. The Mattituck Museum. When I pitched the idea, I never got the rest of the sentence out before they said, well, "What can we do?" And I thought we were doing it downstairs. I thought we were going to be in the atrium and like 35 people will show up, not 170 people showing up. So they gave us the hall upstairs. They helped us bring in 300 pounds of peanut butter and everything else. But we found that there's a competitive nature to all of this. So a bunch of local businesses brought teams together, and there was the Chamber had a team, Ives Bank had a team, Thomaston Savings Bank had a team, and I'm sure I'll forget several of them. But there's something about looking over your shoulder and knowing the table next to you is making more PB&Js than you
Love
are.
it. Competition.
Brings out the competitive nature.
Well, if you go to that hall at the Mattituck Museum, I think that's on the 3rd floor.
Yes.
The sound is great.
Yeah.
And I can remember back when they were trying to get a more youthful crowd, and this is probably 15 or 20 years ago, one Friday night or Saturday night, they had the band Third Shift.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Who are all the different bands now. And boy, they packed the place, and it was a good time. The sound is good in that room.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
Very good. Okay, you're
Absolutely.
on Tom Hill Live. I'm Tom Hill, your host, Jim Beeland, Mr. Peanut Butter and Jelly Sandwich, and John Frasco. He's a money guy, and he can help you borrow money or understand what's going on with your business. John, let's just take a little break and go to the business side. Why don't you give us 2 or 3 people that you talked? What kind of requests for money did you field this week?
A lot of times people are buying a new business. They want to get started, maybe a franchise or something, so they're going to look probably to an SBA loan, because usually it's hard to get a commercial loan unless you've been in business for at least 2 to 3 years. So that's one of those areas that a lot of people will contact me about and ask what are the parameters, what do I need to do, how much down payment do I need. Now, a lot of people don't realize in a commercial loan you need 20% down. It's always 20%. SBA goes down to 10%.
Good deal.
Okay, another thing that's better about the SBA is a commercial loan is usually 7 to 12 years is your term. SBA goes up to 25.
And you've, on our Strike Zone Studio podcast, and people can find those at TomHillRadio.com, you're saying if you stretch out the amortization schedule, it's easier to have cash flow.
What I notice is where a lot of businesses go into trouble, it's not the interest rate, because a lot of people will, over an eighth of a point of an interest rate will fluctuate, and they want to go to the lower rate. I think the monthly payment is what you got to watch out for, because if you really get down to brass tacks, what's going to make or break a business is the monthly payment. If the monthly payment is too high and you can't make it, you're going to default. It's better to keep it low. You can always refinance if you have a financial windfall. So I always say prepare yourself for the worst case scenario. Keep that monthly payment as low as you can when you start. And if you can pay it off early, so do it. Then you can always refinance.
And I think the other benefit, not just the interest rate, dealing with someone who is honorable, ethical, and can explain everything is really, really important, because most people do not understand finance.
I've said that many times. I mean, I even gave you the example. One of our shows, my stepfather buying a collectible and said he made money after 21 years. I mean, he actually lost money.
He was a long-term investor.
Well, he was a long-term loser on that one.
Oh my God! If you want
the transaction.
If you'd like to learn about financing, if you go to TomHillRadio.com, we have a couple of shows with John Frasco where he explains amortization schedules, how to borrow money, what to watch out for. Really, really good. So, and speaking of that, our underwriters are Ives Bank with 3 branches in local Waterbury, John Frasco for Fidelity Finance, my company, Tom Hill Realty and Investment. We're not getting paid to do this show, which is why we're underwriters. TomHillRadio.com, where we do our podcast, Strike Zone Studios in Upper Higher Wolcott, way up towards the Bristol side.
Didn't know that. Good to know.
And my son's company, Pure Power Electric, a master electrician, Tom Hill 4. Been trying to get him to come here, but he can't come on a Thursday night because, and the show would be Ask the Electrician, he can't come here on Thursday night because his daughter has a dance. But one of these weeks,
priorities.
But we also may negotiate something with our wonderful TV producers here on maybe coming in and cutting a couple of shows on a weekday afternoon and just running them, so we can have a Thursday night off. So what have we missed, Jim Beeland? And I know that you were nice enough to send us a big giant cheat sheet.
That's right.
Okay. Oh well, did you explain already why peanut butter? And how that came about?
Yeah. It's. I mean, you always have to be careful of peanut allergies. And that's always a question you want to ask, and it kind of sounds ridiculous when we're going to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Yeah. Actually, we have an event coming up next week in the in Meriden, in the Meriden Health Department called yesterday.
Oh.
And that was their first question. They want to know about, safety. Do you have gloves? Do you have running water? Things of that nature.
Yep.
And she goes, do you have a peanut allergy sign?
Ooh.
And I stumbled for a second. I'm like, well, we have 50 pounds of peanut butter out there. You think someone, she goes, you think it would be, but just make a sign to let everybody know.
You'll have to go to the peanut gallery to buy a sign.
There you go. But no, it's we find that a 5-year-old and a 95-year-old can have a conversation at the same time while doing the same amount of good. And that's kind of awesome.
I had the same exact beautiful experience. I belong to the Society of Industrial and Office Realtors, which is an international organization. And we had a function with UConn, the finance department and the Center for Commercial Real Estate and Urban Studies. and we met in Hartford across the street from the what do you call the indoor stadium for the UConn men's basketball game.
Okay.
In downtown Hartford.
Yeah.
And in that room were UConn students from 20 years old to an MBA student that was 92 years old, grad. So that of to your story, 5-year-old to a 75-year-old
Yeah.
peanut butter construction team
Yep.
sandwich. It's so nice that when these young to old can get together and share their knowledge.
You know, you never know what the takeaway is going to be on Saturday. Not to keep going back to our to-go bags.
Here comes the bag again.
No, I'll tell you what. But this is kind of cool. We had
Show and tell. Bring it all out there.
So we had to go, right? So here's our feed the need to go back. And if I'm going to put a plug in all seriousness, the Foundation of Thomason Savings Bank was able to help us get this off the ground. So greatly appreciative to them. But a young girl asked her mom, do homeless people get Valentine's cards?
Oh.
She didn't know how to answer. So one of the things that we did in the midst of a very busy weekend were passed along 125 of these bags because we knew they were going to the homeless shelter, and she wanted to make sure that they had Valentine's Day cards inside. So you never know what the learning is besides the obvious, here's a sandwich.
Another idea for you, and then we'll go to John. I'm very friendly with Bob LeBon Sr., Jr., and the Third. They own 4 big markets.
Great guys. And
what they do is they fill up a grocery bag with stuff from the store, and they ask the customers to pay anywhere from $15 to $30, depending how the bag is. And they grab the bag off the shelf, go up and pay for it at the register, and then it goes on another shelf to whoever the charity is that's going to receive that food.
Yeah.
So that may be something you can sneak in on.
Pay it forward is a beautiful thing.
I love it. John?
Yeah, Jim, I got a question for you concerning reach. What is the reach where or like the geographic area that you're actually providing the sandwiches to?
Well, we always try to keep wherever the event is local so they can talk to the organizations that they're directly involved with. Hold on, guys. I know.
No, a microphone malfunction.
You guys let me know if I'm still okay right there, but either that
thumbs
or
up.
reporting down. All right.
Thanks, Al.
So if we're doing an event in Waterbury, we want to make sure that the organizations are within a 5 or 10 mile radius. We have an event coming up in Meriden. We already know that the organizations in Meriden and Wallingford will take care of it. There's one in New Britain that will also Plainville, New Britain. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on which way you want to look at it, there's a need wherever we go.
Let me ask you this: are you planning on going further out? I mean,
yeah, that's a question my wife and I had when we were like, you know. So I got to stop here, and you've met Leanne a time or two.
Yes, I have.
Poor Lee has had the opportunity of me coming through the door more than a few times over the years, saying, "Hey, I got an idea."
that sounds.
So for husbands out there who are like that, and your wife saying they'll listen, you're definitely married up. But in this particular case, Lee was saying, you know, and she's all in on it. Where does it end? Meaning geographically. And we were up at an event in East Hartford in September, very, very beginning stages, and folks were asking for help in Groton and in Manchester, and we realized wherever we're asked for outreach, and if we're able to financially, we'll do it.
Okay, so there's no limit. You're gonna.
Sure.
Wherever it takes, that's what you're going to do.
We have not had even one phone call yet tonight. So if you're out there on YouTube and you're out of state, 203-753, it's ringing now, 203-753-7593. We challenge you to call. And the next caller, bring out that giant loaf
Maybe
of
we'll
bread
give 'em
there.
a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
The
if they
next
call.
caller will get this loaf of bread.
Yeah.
What a prize.
Here, I'll put it right there.
There you go.
There we go.
Beautiful. All right, I think we have a caller. Let's see. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
They're ordering a pizza.
Great show. I have a question. You've sold the bag for people in need. Exactly what is in that bag? Could you show us and tell us why you selected those items?
No, caller, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. So,
Thank you. I'll take my answer off air.
all right, thank you. So one of the challenges of putting a bag together, this is you put in too much stuff. Because folks in need might look for a Band-Aid and everything else is rifled through. So in this case, It is a chicken salad kit. It is, we always want to get something salty, something sweet. Some Reese's, a fruit cup, a small bottle of water that could be reusable, hand warmers, and this is what we're very proud of. And this is just a care card. And the care card is nothing more than just a small note, saying, hey, listen, we didn't forget about you. But also on the backside are all of the important numbers, 211, suicide prevention hotline, crisis hotline, things of that nature. So if they're really up against it, we wanted to leave them something where we know that we're thinking about you. And here's a little bit of help. It's amazing what you learn in the process. This was already initially just in a sandwich bag, and some of the folks who are aware of the folks in need as to what they need, and they said, put it in a plastic bag.
They can see what's in there.
They could see what's in there, but also because of the weather and the elements, it'll last longer. And quite often, things like an extra pair of socks is wildly important for these folks. At least we can give them a place to put it.
And for you folks that are thinking of being volunteers, Jim is now going to show you how to load the bag.
Well, I'll tell you, I dropped it on the way in. So, and you know what? And if for nothing else, there's hand warmers in there. And I don't know about you, but over the years, we try to get into the habit of putting like Dunkin' Donut cards in our front seats, in the glove compartment area. Hand warmers, it's a simple thing, but it's important.
Your hands are cold, it's awful. I have 3 pairs of gloves in my side, one in my briefcase. This weather's been really, really nasty.
Yeah.
Okay, we must have a couple other people out there that like to call. 203-753-7593. Next caller gets this bag. 203-753-7593. Give us a call, love to hear from you. John, do you have another one?
Yeah, I was noticing one thing I came upon recently was that they were saying that the fastest demographic of people being homeless have been the elderly. A lot of times because they're on fixed pensions and things are happening with their rent, they get kicked out into the street. Do you notice when you're going to these places that need the sandwiches that you find a lot of senior citizens there?
Well, yes and no, because we often give them to the organizations and then they distribute.
Right.
But one of the takeaways, it's funny, John, that you mentioned that at our very first event, the event that you were at, this what I thought was a husband and the wife who were coming to volunteer were looking in and they were watching. So I just assumed they were a bit shy. And he tapped on the window and I said, come on in. And he wouldn't come in. And he held up one of our little promotional cards and said, my wife and I haven't had a chance to eat in a couple of days. May we have a couple of sandwiches?
Oh, you love it. I love you guys, but it's a bad scene.
So you don't realize, and here we are in that particular case in Bristol at a shopping area that is, while not upscale, certainly not in a challenging part of town. And there's an elderly couple that hasn't eaten in a couple of days.
And many people are afraid to ask or they're embarrassed.
They're embarrassed.
So I think that's a very important story. And there's been some things, some messages from some of our leaders with this really cold weather. Check on your neighbors.
Yeah.
Shovel their side, to their front door. Help them out. Have they eaten? Is there anything that you can do for them? Because a lot of people are afraid to ask.
Yeah. The line. One thing I think we've all noticed is the line between secure and insecure gets a little bit thinner every day.
Well, and you talked about rent. John talked about rents. I mean, there's been the governor has a new housing program trying to get more of these office buildings converted to apartments. But if you're going to convert a big office building to apartments, that could take 2 years.
Yeah.
And even the affordable rents are 12 or if they have to do 20% affordable rents, those are still anywhere between $1,200 and $1,500 a month. Yeah. And a lot of these apartments you're seeing now, these new buildings that are built, are $2,500 or $3,000 a month. Yeah. And there is a real larger a section of the population that they're lucky if they can afford a $600 to $1,100 a month rent, John.
Right. Yeah, what I saw was I did a little research, and there's a state program where there's elderly, if it's deemed an elderly complex, they don't charge them a rent per se that it's a fixed rate. What they do is they take 30% of their income so that the rent will always be 30% of their income. Because I could even give you an example. My father's rent went up $175 per month last year. It went up $150 this year. So, I mean, you're talking a significant increase. And
you are.
He's on a pension, a fixed pension. his pension doesn't change, but the rent keeps getting higher and higher, taking a bigger bite out of his income. So I could see, I could see how some elderly people on a pension could run into a problem. So I do think some of these, like I said, if you are in this predicament, go to your housing authority for your local town or city. They usually have some buildings designated as elderly housing. It's tough to get in.
Waiting lists, yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
tough.
it's hard to also go after the landlords, and there has been some really great stories about this in the Hearst media newspapers. Inflation's been raising the cost of everything, and the landlords have all had, thank you, Al1, the landlords have all had tax increases, utilities have gotten crazy, the costs of landscaping and snow plowing and garbage, everything's gone through the roof. So the landlords are having a real difficult time, and there was a story in the Waterbury paper this week about many towns are going to be allowed, I think, per the new governor's bill, to create fair rent commissions in your town.
Yeah.
But I think these fair rent commissions are also going to have knowledge of what it costs a landlord to run a building. And that's why you're seeing these rent increases. But then on the other hand, the governor is also trying to say that if a new landlord buys the building, they can't raise rents more than 5% for a certain amount of time, because the apartment business of investing in real estate, apartments is a hot commodity. So there are many investors that are buying real apartment buildings, and they're looking at them as an investment, and they're looking at the tenants saying, oh, we got to raise your rent so we can make some more money. So it's a really multifaceted problem that's really going to need people that are going to try to enforce some of this stuff on both sides, tenant or landlord, to have a lot of knowledge to really adjudicate correctly. Because if you put the landlords out of business, who's going to have the rental business?
And it's a long tail problem, right? Even if they pass a law today, it's still years before action to be taken. And on any given night in Waterbury, there's about 90 people tonight that are living in a tent. You know, there's about another 140 people that are underhoused. They're just finding a location to be safe. That answer is not immediate.
And I wonder where the St. Vincent de Paul mission is now, with any room in the shelter. Or are they full? I don't know that question.
I would imagine.
I don't want to speak for them. Not that I'm in contact with them all the time, but I know the last time we dropped off some stuff there last Monday, they were at capacity.
Yeah, not surprised. If anybody's watching from the mission, we'd be happy to invite you on this program. Yep. So John Frasco, you can call him. And you're not too hard to find.
No, I'm easy to find. Yeah. I was thinking, though, usually if you change the apartment structure, because a lot of apartments are 2 bedrooms, they're a little bit larger in size, but usually if it's only one elderly person, maybe one room with a bathroom and a kitchenette may be enough. So I'm thinking that instead of making a 2-bedroom apartment, if you keep it to a single room, you may be able to put more, let's say, units in a building, whereas then they can recapture some more of the cost that way, so it doesn't put the landlords at a tough predicament.
Some of these assisted living places, because their rents have gotten to be $5,000 or $6,000 a month, to your point. Yeah. Yep. And I sold the land for the Kind Care in the Union City section of Naugatuck, and they have 2 bedrooms, and people do share. Yep. Beautifully done. And my friend Chet Dahoney from We Do Life is redeveloping something in your town, an old convalescent home, where there's going to be some shared bedrooms, and he's working on a less expensive model for rents for elderly people, because this shortage of housing is certainly affecting many elderly people as well.
Well, I think housing is in shortage anyway. I mean, a lot of people from New York were moving up into Connecticut, so that took a lot of the housing.
They made Waterbury's real estate market from the housing side. It's amazing how hot the housing is in Waterbury, because New Yorkers, it's too expensive. So people thought Waterbury was done 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, everything runs in a cycle. I mean, it's
true.
It's cold and now it's hot. You know,
yep. Or up and down and around.
Absolutely.
Okay, John, do you have any others? We have about 10 minutes to go at the most. Last chance for phone calls, 203-753-7593. Tom Hill Realty and Investment, tomhill.com. And if you want to leave a message about the show, 203-755-HILL. Leave a message if you want to be a guest, you want to suggest a guest, etc. Jim Bayland, tell us about you and your peanut butter extravaganza again, please.
Yeah, so Feed the Need Northeast is a nonprofit that raises awareness for food insecurity and food scarcity, and we do that by doing these basically large PB&J events where we get the entire community together to hear about what's going on and the heroes that work with it every day. You know, the St. Vincent de Pauls and the Gwims and the Brian Gibbons of the world. Those folks are in it every day, and it's our job to hopefully give them an assist in a little bit of notoriety, a little bit with sandwiches, but a little more with education and empathy too.
John?
I got to ask you this, Jim.
No,
just
you're
for-
supposed to identify you and your company at this point in
Oh,
the show.
John Frasco, Fidelity Finance Solutions,
And what do you do?
commercial lending.
And lots of it.
Yeah, as much as I can.
I also
Can I-
think
can
he'd
I ask
be an
my question?
ideal counselor for people that are having trouble running their office, who want to plan for a loan next year or need a guest controller. This guy's very talented. Thank you for doing all the work on this program, John.
Oh, thank you. You're
No, I really like this guy. That's why I invited him to be on the program. Okay, fun stuff.
Yeah.
I was-
Watch it. Oh, go ahead.
You're-
So pushy.
All right, Jim, I got to ask you this just for levity's sake. There's got to be something that funny that happened while you're making all of these sandwiches. Can you enlighten us to some funny situation that has happened during one of these events?
People inevitably will get a little agitated, and I say that's a little harsh even to say that, if we don't have a certain brand. You know, I mean, for showcase, I brought Skippy here, but gang, if you come to one of our events, I'm going to tell you right now, it's what was ever on sale during the week.
I like Teddy's myself.
I'm a big fan of a New England peanut butter, but they're so darn expensive. We're gonna work on that.
Everybody
so, yeah,
has a budget.
yeah. So but I mean, I think that's hysterical. We will use a private label quite often, and there's a couple of volunteers that kind of I get the hairy eyeball from them when they know that.
Well,
it's
you
not-
could say to them, please bring a case of your favorite brand.
Absolutely.
Simple. Go ahead,
Absolutely.
John.
And then jelly as well. You know, we're a Concord grape jelly gang. But if you, it's fairly easy to spread. But every once in a while, you don't have jam, you don't have strawberry. So bring it. It's all good.
Well, when you said before the show, you said you had a competition between teams. I
Yes.
thought somebody would get mad because they lost and start throwing peanut butter at them or something like
No,
that.
we-
That didn't happen?
No, we've never had that. But I've seen on New Year's Eve people hoarding supplies so the other team wouldn't get them.
Ooh, tricky.
Oh well, I mean, because we sent. If you can picture at the upper level of the Mattituck, we had. I've lost track how many loaves of bread we had, and I'm watching a lady walk back with 22 loaves of bread in her hand, and I'm like, you can't do that. And she goes, but it takes too long to go back and forth. And behind her was someone with loads and loads of peanut butter. Again, you can't do that, but apparently we have to write rules and regulations on peanut butter competition.
All right.
She comes under the heading of win if you can, lose if you must, but cheat all the time.
You know what? It's all good.
There you go. Stock car racer. Creamy or crunchy?
Yeah, that's so we go with creamy just for speed's sake. But I gotta ask, are you a creamy or a crunchy guy?
I can't do crunchy anymore because of dental floss. Your teeth get all jammed up.
What about yourself?
No, I like it creamy.
Yeah, creamy. So here's a goofy fact that'll leave you. So it's probably about 60-40 creamy nationally, but more people in the Northeast like creamy than in the Midwest. In the Midwest, it's about 50-50 creamy crunchy.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, so before we get away here, for people who want to volunteer,
Yeah.
for people who want to donate, who might want to have an event,
Yep.
pitch them how to get a hold of you and your contact, please.
Absolutely. So if you look at Feed the Need Northeast or feedtheneedne.org, you could just go to info@feedtheneedne.org or even events at feedtheneedne.org, and we'll get back to you and just let us know. On any given day, it ranges from do you need X. And sometimes it has nothing to do with what it is we're doing. A few weeks ago, and a little longer than that now, I had a gentleman says, I have a tractor trailer load of apples. Okay, so, and we found a home for them. And I think the takeaway for that was people just want to help, and they're not quite sure how.
Well, you take the phone and you figure it out. You're a bright guy. John, who's your guests for the next couple of weeks? With me, of course, I hope.
Next week, Dave Sheehan, the comedian.
Very good. I've had him.
After that, Bill Becker, the cyber sleuth.
Bill's a good guy.
He's smart. He knows about helping lawyers, especially with all these cyber attacks. But the regular folks are going to get a kick out of that one.
Yeah, he gives you a lot of helpful hints on how to prevent from getting scammed and everything like
moving.
that. Okay, I'm going too slow. After that, we've got on March 5th, we got Laura Brown from Laura B. Travel. That ought to be an interesting one on, she makes reels for businesses.
She's a talker, and she's very entertaining.
Yeah, she'll be a very interesting person. On the 12th, we have Ewa from Ann's Place, talk about assistance for cancer patients. And on the 19th, it'll be Beth Lane from Booked and Balanced.
And we have calls out for Mayor Paul Pernaruski to be a repeat guest. chief of police and the chief of the fire department. So we got a big lineup coming. We're not going away, and we thank Brass City TV for their help. Show the
Before
the
you go,
experts.
you know what? For
Oh,
you
wow.
guys, you got, so this is, if we could see that, making a difference is kind of our jam.
Yep.
And here's our back. But I think you guys, since you're so amazing, you both need.
Thank
You
you.
need to
Oh,
wear a
thank
little
you.
feed the need action.
All right, I'll look at
and,
the size later. Okay. Quickly, you were at WATR, the old WATR, way
was,
back. Give us a
yeah.
quick synopsis because we got about 4 minutes to go.
Oh my gosh!
snap it up, dude.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I was never there full time. I always was their super sub. Worked down at the Connecticut Radio Network for a bunch of years, so I kind of shuttled up.
That was helping with the news.
Yeah, always helping with the news with our good friend Greg Little back in the day.
Yep.
Still, Greg was my first boss when I was 18 years old.
Great. Good man.
Yeah, so was there
Both
for
of you.
many years, and it's community is everything. Whether it's this show, whether it's the chamber, whether it's local radio, those are special times.
Good. And quickly, you said you were on WOW Radio.
Yeah, I had a chance to hang out with Leanne and I did with Pam Landry, and played the 6th Degree of Separation game and had us on there for about a half hour.
And Brian Smith.
Brian Smith is a good guy. They're good folks.
Yeah, they bought the signal from WATR,
Yep.
and they're doing a nice job. If you like hard rock, their playlist is unbelievable. And Pam Landry does what I did for many years on Saturday. She brings in live musicians all the time.
She
and she's
does.
really good to the local musicians. John, 30 seconds on you before we wrap it up.
I've just got one more question for Jim. Where would you like to be at the end of this year with this Feed the Need? What would you like to see happen?
Boy, I don't know if I have enough time for that.
Snap it up.
I want more stories of people who weren't realizing that you made a difference that went beyond PB&J sandwiches. The little kids of the world, those stories are amazing. The people of the world that say, "Hey, tell me more," that's what we want.
Okay.
And
Do you
I
have
will
a
just-
website? We do, feedtheneedne.org.
And how about a Facebook page?
Feed the Need Northeast. You'll see all of the good stuff there. We try to post every other day or so.
Okay, and as we wrap it up, thank you very much for coming on. Thank you for the swag, and the winners of the peanut butter and jelly should go to the front door.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're underwritten by John Frasco from Fidelity Finance, Tom Hill Realty and Investment. That's me at tomhill.com. You can see our shows that we've already done, many of them at tomhillradio.com. We're brought to you by Strike Zone Studios, a vodcast studio up in Wolcott. And, of course, Ives Bank, a local community bank with 3 locations in Greater Waterbury. We want to thank you very much for tuning in to us, and we'll see you next week. And if you have calls, you have interest in the show, and you want to try to be a guest or refer somebody, etc., we have a very big selection process for new guests. 203-755-HILL. 203-755-HILL. Leave a message. Thank you very much for tuning in tonight. Good night, everybody.